Every brand thinks that they know their customer, but they're only holding half the puzzle. You see the ad clicks, the impressions, the engagement, but the moment the shopper walks into a store or checks out online, the picture cuts to black. Now imagine another company holds the missing part, the card data, the loyalty data, the repeat purchase. You could complete the picture together without ever knowing each other's pieces. That's what a data cleanroom makes possible. My guest today is Puneet Gangrade, the architect behind Snapchat and Pinterest cleanroom business, and the guy who helped Uber, Disney, Microsoft, Jix, and Hill's Pet turn data collaboration into real revenue. He's not just talking theory, he's building the infrastructure every media publisher, retailer, and streaming provider, or CPG, will need to survive the next decade of media. It's no longer about who has the biggest budget, it's about who knows what to do with the data. And when that happens,
it gives you an opportunity to earn more money. Perfectly allowed legal way.
And when I asked what happens when brands treat data clean rooms like IT projects, he told me,
almost 10 years into the clean room environment, people have realized that it is not about the ad tech. The core layer of this overall technology.
Hi, I'm Imtiaz Ahmed, and I help executive leaders create value with the smartest minds in artificial intelligence. You may not realize it, but behind every major innovation in retail, media, and technology, there's a team wrestling with how to make AI real and valuable inside massively complicated matrixed organizations. On this show, I sit down with the business and technology leaders who are doing exactly that, and what it really takes to create competitive advantage in the age of applied intelligence.
Welcome to Applied Intelligence, everyone. I have the pleasure of having Puneet with me today. We're going to talk about so many things, data clean room, so many things to do with applied AI, so many things to do with applied machine learning. But first, I think we need to clear the air in terms of what is an actual data clean room, how did it come about? You're a massive expert. I have huge respect for the work that you've done within the data clean room space, Puneet. Just give the audience a bit of a understanding of how data clean rooms came about, why they came about, and how it's gradually evolving right now.
Yes, 100%, and happy to be here on the show to begin with. There are many ways to look at data clean rooms. Today we represent it as a tech that does a few things for a few companies. But let's take a step back and understand why the word exists, the data clean room, right? And let's forget the word data in itself and concentrate on the core word that is clean room, right? What are clean rooms? And it has nothing to do with the data, tech, ad tech as an industry overall. Clean rooms are the controlled environments that we have, that has always existed for a while. In pharmaceuticals and aerospace engineering, manufacturing, these are the controlled environments which are, let's just say, created with an intent to not get contaminated inside when the things are happening. That's what a clean room does. When taken into the data as a realm, as a concept, that's where we come into data as a data clean rooms. And now, coming into the data clean rooms as a concept, these became famous starting 2018 onwards, when all of the government laws or privacy laws or browsers have started updating their own policies. That's where how the data is collected through various mechanisms by companies, by governments, by browsers about the customer, or what we are browsing, or what we are seeing on the websites, or what ads we are watching. That's when there are some limitations that started coming up. And when the limitations come up, everybody has to find a solution, and that solution in this case is defined as a data clean room to a certain extent. And data clean rooms offer, in its own very simple definition, is that it allows two or more companies to work on each other's data in a privacy safe manner. So you can work with others' data, which was previously done in various ways through contractual manners, data sharing contracts. It was done more from a verbal or a contractual trust point of view. And now data clean rooms actually allow you to utilize the privacy tech, and the trust is built using the engineering efforts. And now keeping the closing the loop as an idea as to the clean room, the original clean room in pharmaceuticals, manufacturing, they're engineered to make it the way it is. Similarly, data clean rooms are also engineered to the extent that we can as of today. And it has only been, let's just say, 8-10 years that we started utilizing more and more clean rooms. But yeah, that's what it comes down to.
I want to ask you, from somebody who might understand very basically what cryptography is when it comes to crypto, blockchain, all that sort of stuff. How are these two related, or how are these two technologies kind of working together, or how are they fundamentally different?
Yes, some resemblance, yes, some overlap for sure. Let's break down the word crypto in this case, cryptography. Everywhere we have seen that whenever a person's data, a customer's data, or a user's data get used, wherever, for whichever use case, whichever industry. Let's name some industries to gain some context in our minds, right? It could be retail, it could be pharmaceutical, it could be banking, finance, insurance, automotive, anything. Whenever a customer's data is getting used, the intent behind the company's collection of data about a user matters. When a company collects the data about me, what can they do with it matters. And I'm giving my name, phone number, email ID, address, and what do they not have? They have everything about me almost, I guess so. But you cannot just share the data like this. Like, you have to encrypt it in a way. And that's where like basic cryptography, as an oversimplified term, I'm using it here right now, becomes a thing. So my data gets crypted, hashed in a very common word that is used these days. And then it is being used for utilizing or making sense of the data. So my name is Puneet, but people may not know or see my name when they see my data about me, my data. Like, that's what. It matters. Like, when you think of this simple thing of Puneet being not called as Puneet in the data, it matters. Why it matters is because we don't want to reveal one person's identity and still use hundreds and thousands and millions of people's data to our benefit. When I say our benefit, means not make the person's information visible and exposed for various reasons. Keep that as secure wherever we can and how much we can, and still use it for their own personalized experiences. Like, I may be getting some personalized experience when my data is getting used. So it is using a technology, in this case cryptography, let's just say, to an extent so that the company can do a few things, take some business actions, and improve Puneets or 100 Puneets or thousands of Puneets, their experiences basically.
So, like, for example, currently I'm thinking about going on holiday to Bali, and I've just booked a flight to Bali, right? But I don't want, for example, Airbnb or Expedia or Booking.com to know Imtiaz has booked on this particular date and he's going to Bali. Yeah. However, I would love recommendations on the internet,
yes,
based on my historical interactions with other websites, based on what I've purchased before, based on previous hotels that I've stayed with because I use American Express or if I use Visa, etc. I would love a tailored recommendation of hotels, accommodations, activities that is more tailored towards the fact that I have a family, rather than showing me stuff that singles who go to Bali might do, right?
Yes.
So I guess the underlying technology concept here is, how do we build that customer relevance? How do we build that personalization layer without actually sharing the fact that Imtiaz is flying to Bali on the 22nd of December,
yes,
from whichever airport, right? So I think if we frame it in that context of understanding, it is a safer way for brands to interact with potential customers or even existing customers in a way that they can actually talk to other parties relevant for that customer experience.
It is 100% the case. I mean, we are already seeing the utility of one person's data. First of all, congrats on going to Bali. I'm jealous. I'm not going because your data and your expectations about your data is something, and you just explained about like personalized experiences, and of course nothing with respect to single strip and all, not gonna make sense to you. These are the use cases that are being discovered. I mean, we hopefully get to discuss all these things today, but these are the use cases that are being actively discussed and implemented by various companies in various ways. Like, your use case is travel, when there are many other use cases which touch upon a person's personalized experience, like shopping, travel, in general ads, let's just say, in general ads.
Yeah. Banking, finance, insurance, loyalty programs. There's like
loyalty programs is a recent, my personal favorite as well these days, but yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Now, you've worked across multiple companies such as Accenture, Time Inc., Media Monks, Habu, and LiveRamp. In terms of your personal experience, what ties all of these things together, and how has your thinking around data collaboration evolved over this time?
Yes, great question. I mean, no pressure on me, I guess. Over the time, what we have realized is that every company has an intent towards using its data. And if they don't have an intent, I guess the longer vision may get blur, right? And whether I'm from consulting side or product side, brand or advertiser or agency side, it doesn't matter. Like, the intent of using the data, because I've always been in the data side of the business, so I'll data word, hopefully people don't hate me for saying the word data so many times, is that you get to see a realm of multiple intents being done in some ways, execution wise, like different kinds of projects being executed. I think there's no one answer here, but yeah, I would like to let's just say take a pause and think of, okay, what do we want to achieve? Yeah.
I think when it comes to all of these different applications, specifically using data, I think it's really surprising when a company can leverage their data for something that they weren't necessarily thinking about using it for. So for example, I think the most amazing example out there is Amazon and AWS / Amazon Marketing Cloud.
Yes.
And the way Amazon has kind of, taken something that's Amazon Marketing Cloud, which is an amazing clean room technology anyway,
Yes.
and then liberated it and said, hey, everyone can have access to this right now. And no matter how big or small you are, essentially you can mine this thing for insights against what you're doing as a 3P seller advertising on the platform.
Yes.
And execute against it. So in reality, the barriers to entry to doing this stuff now is very low.
Yes.
And comes down to how in the thick of the data and how in the weeds you want to go to actually executing this stuff. So, formerly you needed an army of data scientists.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's one of those advantages that don't come often in the industry, right? Having access to a platform which can actually give you a competitive advantage. I mean, I'm trying to relate your first question, that was the previous question, now with the second question. It's like, among all these companies, people have utilized the data to benefit themselves. That's the core theme of our discussion today as well, right? People have realized that data collaboration is an avenue of earning more money. Yes, data can give you an opportunity to earn more money if you use it the right way, if you use it with the right intent. It's a new revenue work stream for various companies of various sizes. Doesn't matter which industry, which vertical you are in. And the moment you realize that your own data, or let's just say a data that you have licensed, can give you an opportunity to have a parallel revenue work stream other than your core business, basically, right? And actually help your core business become better. Similarly, in your question is like the advertisers these days can utilize Amazon Marketing Cloud as one of the clean rooms. So for people who don't know, this is a clean room offered already by Amazon for their advertisers. And I think it's this week only that they announced, right? If you are doing sponsored ads campaigns of various like sponsored products, sponsored display, all these campaigns, you get the access free of cost to Amazon Marketing Cloud. So what is the difference here? Why this matters today, at least today, is that until now, people who wanted to get access to this kind of a clean room and utilize the specialized log level data, the most log level data about impressions, clicks, conversions, it was only, let's just say, on an entry basis. And now it's open for all, it's generally available. So data collaboration has gotten more, let's just say, democratized. That's a fancy word I'm going to use today. Sorry for that saying that.
It's become easier to access.
Yes, it's easier to access. The democratization is the fancy word for the same thing. When you get access to something that it doesn't matter whether you are a small advertiser with $1,000 ad spend or $1 million ad spend per month, per year, doesn't matter. You can, with the help of even small data and small advertiser, like in your category, if you have one product that you sell, and you have a competitor which is a bigger name in the industry and they sell thousands of products, you and your competitor have the access to the same data. Now, when you have access to the same kind of data, it all comes down to what do you do with the data, right? And if you have a good planning, if it's about the ads, right? Because this is about sponsored ads particularly, but in general, ads. What you do with your own ads, optimization. Now you can get down to the analytical level, as much analytical you want to get. Write SQLs, go crazy about SQL, create user journeys, understand the drop-offs. I mean, customer drop-offs. Think about look-backs. I mean, one product versus 1,000 product. Now, clean rooms and a data collaboration as a product is going to allow you to do that. It's just one example. Amazon is just one example in this case. Yeah.
So you've said clean rooms have moved way beyond today. So what's the most surprising, like non-media use case you've seen succeed?
This is an interesting question. I have some answer for it for sure in my own experience that I've seen. But I want to take a step back as to why this matters. Whenever like the ad tech as a company started embracing data clean rooms, it was only ad tech use cases. And companies thought that, okay, ads data is needed, conversions data is needed, people can join the data through SQL, through Python, do something with the data. Analysts will come in, engineer would come in, media managers would try to make sense of the dashboards and take business decisions, right? Which is actually the case. So we are now, let's just say, almost 10 years into the clean room environment in various ways. People have realized, when I say people means the leaders of various companies and all verticals included in this case, have realized that it is not about the ad tech as a data or ad tech as an entry point to using the data clean rooms. The core layer of this overall technology is privacy tech, the privacy enhancing technology spreads. When you take care of engineering that privacy layer, which is why the clean room companies exist, different providers, right, as neutral parties, they allow you to bring any kind of data, which is not only ad specific. Let's name a few. It could be commerce delivery apps. I think this is one of the common use cases I've seen. Commerce delivery apps are working with grocery chains, restaurants, small restaurants, or maybe the chain of restaurants, QSRs, right? Quick service restaurants, retail chains, because now you can order. And I mean, just to name a few for the context in our minds and for the sake of a discussion as well. Like we have, what are the delivery apps that we have? We have DoorDash, we have Uber Eats, Instacart, I guess, right? Seamless, Grubhub, I'm guessing these are all together. A lot of companies would deliver something to your doorstep, right? When they want to understand their own business relationships with the companies who are selling on these platforms, it's not just so natural that, okay, tomorrow the restaurant would directly give the data to one of the commerce delivery apps. Like, that's like an old way of doing things. It's like, oh, I have this. Sorry, I didn't plan this, by the way. I have this over here. Many years back, we all used this and it did the job. And then it came in computers, then laptops, and now you have an iPad in front of you. That doesn't mean that this is not useful, but we have moved on. There are many other things to take care of, right? So that's where two or more companies will start using a neutral technology, in this case, a data clean room company, and start working on use cases. Similarly, I mean, I just gave a very common example of our daily lives. We log onto our phones, we order something gets delivered. What would the commerce deliver? How is it a win-win-win situation? I think it is not about having a very interesting use case. Use cases are only interesting until it is not giving me some returns, right? So intent of doing all this to have so many people involved, data, preparing the data and all, the goal is that it has to be a win-win-win situation. Or maybe there are more than three parties. Yep, win, multiple wins. And it could be a commerce delivery app or a retail, in this case, or a commerce delivery app or a restaurant, or a commerce delivery app or a restaurant plus an agency, or a commerce delivery app plus a restaurant plus an agency plus a licensed second party retail data provider.
I'll give you another example. And something I'm thinking about right now is a QSR restaurant, a commerce delivery app, and then the supplier that supplies inventory to the QSR delivery company, right?
I think you should be sitting this side.
No, because like, you know, I've ordered food on Uber Eats and you know, Instacart so many times, and the worst customer experience is when you find out that the thing that you ordered is out of stock, right? And on a quick delivery app, the expectation is that it's going to come to me in an hour.
Yes.
And I have this high expectation of getting that thing within an hour.
Yes.
And that hour passes, and then the person at the store trying to pick up is like, no, it's not there. Yes. So, you know, whereas if I'm expecting a delivery in 2 to 3 days, if that's delayed by a day, fine, it's fine, it's not a big deal. But, you know, in this environment or in this use case, you want the data right now. So imagine in a use case where demand spikes, then the vendor who's actually, or the supplier supplying food or raw ingredients to the QSR is seeing that signal, and preemptively moving inventory to that QSR restaurant.
It is
catering for the demand.
It is 100%. And I think, as you said it, as we were saying the example, another example came up in my mind is that through your example, you as a person, individually as an Imtiaz, like, is getting benefited through the whole process, because you use an app, it goes and does some request on the back end, comes back with your food or the item that you ordered. It is Imtiaz personalized, Imtiaz driven. Taking it to the next level, and this is applicable because you highlighted that it's about the stock. That means it's about also the inventory of things. Stock is, in general, inventory of things. Taking it to the next level, there are many other companies in the CPG world who are exploring the use cases with their suppliers. Let's make it more generic for all of us to understand. Like I can order, let's just say, a beverage on an app, right? Or let's just say not on an app. Let's just say I go to a store and then order something, a beverage. That beverage can be in a plastic bottle or a can. Or suppose if I order a soup can, I guess, be a can. I think soups
it comes in cans
It
and
can come in
pouches.
cans,
Yeah.
right? Let's just say it's a very big famous CPG advertiser, CPG company, and they are distributing and selling all their stuff in all of the bigger retail chains, including, let's just say, Walmart, 7-Elevens, all these. You can name any store, and then your product, it is the most common product that's being sold. And I'm just giving an example of a company that is like either that needs some kind of packaging or some kind of a thing to keep their item in. And sometimes you don't need an item, so yes, I understand that. And the reality check over here for the CPG companies is that not everything that they are selling is that they are owning on the back end as well. Let's just say companies may not be owning the manufacturing of the bottles or the cans. So they may be working with somebody else. In this case, the word is a supplier, and a supplier may be working with a manufacturer. Let's just say in this case, supplier, not trying to keep multiple layers of details, but let's just suppliers. Suppliers can directly work with the CPG company to understand if enough cans are already distributed in various parts of the country. We have 50 states in this country. So one state may need more cans, one state may need more bottles, right? How do you do that? It's not like the supplier will give all the data to the beverage company, because supplier may be creating the bottles for another beverage company as well,
Yes.
right? So they can
And that's not a secure way.
That's not a secure way.
Sharing that
Right.
sales information.
So you just cannot share the data for the obvious reasons. Now people will think, oh, there is no PII involved. It is not about the PII. It is not about Puneet's information or Imtiaz's information. It is about what that company thinks is a proprietary information.
it's commercially sensitive data that you can't
Because that is what brings them to success in their own world. It's their own little world that they live in, right? So they have to take care of their own data privacy policies and data policies. We can keep thinking of examples. Another example is like airline companies and banks could be working together, right? And it's not like I'm trying to make up an example, but we all have some credit cards that are airline credit cards. Now, suppose you already have it. That means that airline company already has a contract. That's why they have credit cards. That's why I have one in my pocket as well. Right? But once you have that, you need to grow that relationship. It is not just that, okay, you just don't want to bring customers into your portfolio and give them a credit card. There has to be an ongoing value add to the customer. So it's a win for the customer. Ongoing business value, or let's just say some kind of an upsell to the banking company, because I'm utilizing my credit card to pay things, right? And some kind of benefit to the airline company. Let's just say in terms of my loyalty towards them. It matters. Loyalty, these things matter. That's why we all keep some airline credit cards and all. It is not about initiating a relationship between the two companies. It is about that the data clean room will allow you to evaluate that relationship using the most data points that are available and applicable on both ends. And then, the use cases are unlimited if we keep talking about it. Yeah.
For sure. Now, you have an analogy where you compare clean rooms to a puzzle where no one sees each other's puzzle pieces, right?
Yes.
So how do you ensure data trust using a trust layer via clean room?
Yes. And I think it's a perfect question to answer because there is a misconception overall that may float around at some points and has floated around in the past, right? Data clean rooms, and this may sound like a punchline, so let me not try to make it look like a punchline, but it is actually a punchline. So data clean rooms are not just a tool that suddenly became a thing. It had a reason, and it's not built on promises. It is not built on contracts, only contract, let's just say. It is engineered. And I really want to bring it back to the first point that I started in our discussion. This keyword as a clean room, came from something that has existed for decades in the past, but not in the data world, pharmaceutical world, manufacturing world, for the right reasons, because those were the needs back then for their industries. Now, moving forward, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s now, it's a need in the data environment as well. So when we say that people will not see each other's puzzle pieces, what it means is it's not just built on verbal promises or contracts. it is technically engineered on the back end of a software product. So you can rely on the tech. And what are the examples? I just casually said it, oh, it's engineered, right? What does it mean in reality for people? Let's just say there's an advertiser, publisher, okay, let's not bring a third party for now. Is that who can do what with the data is what a software product would help them decide. And at its core of the software product, just like any other software product, at its core, this particular kind of software products have privacy enhancing technologies that are already inbuilt. And there are many privacy enhancing technologies in the industry. Some are applicable to some use cases. Some clean room providers may have more than one, more than two. It's always good to have more than one. Just one will not help, right? But it's always a mix of your software capability and your privacy tech capability, right? Example is, I don't want you to see my data. Like suppose, let's just say you are playing an advertiser, and I'm a publisher. When you are spending money on my platform, I don't want you to tell me what data exactly you have, and I don't want myself to tell you what data exactly I have. So I will tell you the schema of my fields, about my customers, about the identifiers of a user, the timestamps, the consumer journeys, and all those things. But the privacy layer takes care of you not being able to see my data, literally the see. Let's try to put it in a perception. Before clean rooms, and I'll point it out. So Google's log level data in ads always was available in BigQuery through their mechanism called data transfer. Right? And I think at some point it started getting deprecated for the absolute right reasons, right? And Google came up with Ads Data Hub as a product. And I was in a transition when there were no clean rooms today, and tomorrow there was a clean room. So until today, I'm exactly able to see what's the timestamp of this particular user's impression ID. And I have millions of users that I'm able to query and right away find the result by grouping it the way we want it. User journeys, look back windows, optimizations, frequency reach,
anything
audience.
you want.
You think of a thing, and you would be able to do it right with the fastest of the compute possible in BigQuery in a couple of minutes. Tomorrow onwards, a data clean room comes in. Now, I have to respect the privacy of an individual user. I can only query and aggregate the data, but not see the data. And that comes in with a privacy tech limitation, or let's just say a tech itself, a feature. Let's just say k-anonymity, like the minimum user threshold, people said crowd size, minimum user aggregation thresholds, all these things. Now, coming to the actual question itself, the pieces of the puzzle. The pieces of the puzzle matter here because there are multiple parties trying to create a solution. In this case, clean room provider is the neutral party, trying to help the publisher or the agency or the advertiser or the data provider, or utilizing, let's just say, the public data on the internet around weather, let's just say weather data. Like you use all sorts of data, but you don't get to see anybody's data. And it's vice versa. Nobody gets to see anybody else's data. So what you're doing is, I am literally closing your eye and I'm putting my piece of the puzzle on the table. Then you close my eyes and then you put your piece of the puzzle. And everybody does that until the puzzle is finished. Nobody gets to ever see which part of the puzzle I put on the table and which part of the puzzle you put on the table. Exact part. I mean, of course, you would know what is your data, what is my data. But the oversimplification over here is that you don't get to see things. And you just don't get to query or access in a crazy way anymore.
Yeah. You don't get to see the granularity of the data, but you can see the outcome that you're trying to drive, right?
100%.
So
yes.
whether that's driving more ad revenue or minimizing out of stock in the supply chain example,
yes,
you can see if the actions that you're taking are driving the outcome, or not, right?
100%.
But in terms of how that's happening between the different parties, in terms of the data sharing that's happening, that's the invisible part in this example where you don't know which puzzle pieces are working together, which you don't need to know. But what you ultimately care about is, am I driving the business outcome that I'm trying to get to, right?
100%. And that's the intent even way before starting the exercise. Like you just don't hope for the result. You are planning for the result. You're preparing your people, you're preparing your data. So with an intent.
And reversing back a bit, and this is why I love applying like first principles thinking to data challenges, right? Because ultimately everyone is trying to achieve a goal when we're working together with, whether it's customers or suppliers, everyone's got a goal. Drive profit, drive sales, minimize cost, whatever like the business KPI is, minimize inventory, whatever we want to do. Essentially, the hardest part now sometimes is actually asking the right question of the data clean room, of the data sets, of what the supplier may have, what the customer data we have, and what this new relatively new technology, but what this new capability essentially allows us to do is work with those parties in a way that everybody feels safe to share that data, because you're not getting the granular access to actually work out what's happening, but ultimately create the value between the two parties. So if you're an advertiser and I get more granular data and I can target better, and you can help me prove that my ad dollars are working more efficiently and driving more growth, I'm going to invest with you more. I'm not going to take money away from the table if it works better. But conversely, if it's not working, then it gives me the ability to understand what I might have to do differently in order to make that happen.
Yes.
So when we think about data collaborations between parties, we think, if we just think purely about collaboration, I don't think we talk enough about the politics involved when it comes to managing this between different parties. What are the invisible power dynamics that are there that kind of sabotage clean room deployments or partnerships between parties?
Yes, very real question for many reasons to begin with. Yes, and I think the word data politics is more of a heavy phrase to say something similar that is more fundamental in nature, especially in the data industry to begin with. So it's a really realistic phrase to use, but at its core, there are other fundamental problems that people are trying to solve. And in the bigger realm, it may look like there is some data dynamics possible, right? What does that look like? And thinking from multiple perspectives, and I try to dissect these perspectives as much as possible for clarity of thought here, is that if the intent you have to utilize a clean room with any clean room provider, doesn't matter which one, if you have your own data and you have an intent to use it with, let's just say, a publisher, publisher for suppose, you are trying to do something good for your business. That is your perspective. I am on the other side. I will have the same perspective. I am trying to do something with my data that will benefit me. So we should forget about who is getting benefited more. Even if there is a slight change and slight improvement in the things, that improvement will mean a lot in the long run, right? So let's theoretically start the discussion there. What does it look like in reality about data politics? It's about what are you bringing to the table. Like it's a very fair business problem to discuss out loud in the initial phases of whether do I need a clean room or not. What do I bring to the table, and what do you bring to the table, and how is the tech gonna help us both do the things that we want, right? And in this discussion, and it has nothing to do with paper contracts, nothing to do with like, do you have a legal contract with you or not? Like, it's all, those are all sidelines. Like, those are, of course, the process that any company would follow: legal, compliance, data privacy checks, infosec. Keeping all those things aside, it's about who wants to do what with the data, who can do what. Like, and then a very real example in the ad tech terms, right? Ad tech, people do care about activation. How will I activate using my data? So I know that I can optimize my ad spend, but then optimization, let's just say I can optimize by 3% or 1%, which are still bigger numbers. And when it comes to the volume of the data, let's just say 3% optimization, oversimplifying the dialogue here for now. And how do we activate? These kind of discussions should be happening as early in the phases of any kind of business setting, that, okay, how will companies get the data to close the loop? I mean, we all have discussed since the programmatic days, open internet, this, that, retail media networks, like how do we close the loop for effectively measuring our own advertising? These kind of discussions need to be happening. It may take, and at its core, it's more fundamental. At a very high level, when two companies are talking, it may look like, okay, there is a dynamic that we are trying to get benefit from, but at its core, it's all companies trying to benefit it from the same dynamic, right, involved in that picture. So what are the activation pipes? What can I do with your data? What can you do with my data, right? This is a very important dialogue. I don't want you to query my data in a crazy way. I don't want you to find something that I think it's not going to benefit me. So I will set my own guardrails, and you will set your own guardrails, that I don't want you to do this with my data. So in terms of readiness, onboarding, and an intent from the get-go, this kind of dynamic can easily be taken care of by either a software product features. Okay, I will not allow you to query my data. If activation pipe is already set in place, okay, the data will go from here to here to there. If these things are already sorted, which identifiers are getting used? I mean, this is such a big question, right? Now we have many identifier companies in the industry, right? And then even without these identifier companies, identity management systems, right? There has always been hashed emails, phone numbers, PIIs, hashed names, addresses, zip codes. Of course, zip code is not a PII, but when you combine it with the other PIIs, it's a PII.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? And that's where a dialogue needs to happen about, okay, are you trying to force me or push me towards something? Are you trying to make me get convinced with, okay, I have to follow your way? And at its core, it's just two leadership people talking, two media people talking, two data people talking at the end of the day. And they have to find a sweet balance that, okay, this is how we are going to get the study done. It could be a small pilot test. It could be a scalable study. It could be a 1-year look back data study. Did I answer your question? Is there anything I'm missing?
No, I think in terms of data politics, in my experience, working with a data clean room provider in the media space, essentially we drove down cost per acquisition significantly. And the partner was really scared that we were going to cut ad spend. And I was like, no, I'm not cutting ad spend. I just proved that you're one of the most efficient channels out there now. I want to bring more spend and go higher in the funnel to help, unlock more new to brand shoppers coming through your retail media.
100%. And I think people are not trying to cut down on money in any way. They want to know how to best use the money. So if they did any mistakes in the past, can they improvise on it? So lowering CPAs, it has different perspectives, as I said. From my perspective, it has an opportunity to grow and reuse the money in some other way. So reshuffling. And that's what many advertisers do. I have a very, very real use case and a case study in my mind, which, maybe we'll discuss it today. But that's the intent. Nobody's trying to cut money because we all know media budgets get set well in advance. Nobody's going to take that money away from you. And you have, as an advertiser, let's just say top 10 publishers to spend on. Obviously, some Google, some Amazon, some Meta, some CTV providers for video advertising, Netflix, Hulu, Disney, right? Then some open programmatic news channels. It's obvious that if I have 10 channels, my goal would be to maximize the value of each dollar spent. And clean rooms help you realize that value. And then you get in a phase of, okay, I have to take a business decision.
Exactly.
And you move on, you move forward. I think more than considering this exercise as a thing where you have a proof of burden, it is an opportunity to prove that you can expand the whole workflow.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
So moving from proof of concepts to actually scaling projects, what's the one thing no one talks about that makes or breaks the transition?
Yes, I think it's a great question. I feel like sometimes clean room, people who want to work in clean rooms think of clean room product as a new fancy tech that they want to use once and then maybe let go because maybe it is of not too much value to them. Stop thinking of clean rooms as pilots. And I'm very passionately saying these to my clients as well and trying to convince them that, okay, you have a goal in mind. Don't keep that goal only for a 3 month or 6 months. Let's think of a 2 to 5 year thing as to what it can do for you. What does it take for a clean room program to scale, right? It's an investment in people. It's an investment in your intent to use your own data. Until clean rooms were not there in our lives, you had data anyway, all the time. You have website data, you have customer data, you have CRM data. Which data did you never have? You always had data.
Yeah.
Right? Like CTV providers had the show level, a TRP level data. Think of an industry and they will have a metric or a KPI that they always cared about.
Exactly.
Right? And you have to be thinking in their perspectives as well. So clean rooms are not something that you can think of as a tool. It is not a tool that will do everything for you. It is a program that you have to build. It is a capability. You can think of it as a capability within your center of excellence. Companies think finance, marketing, operations, tech, data, privacy, compliance, legal, ethics. These are all divisions of any company. Within that, a new subdivision is emerging, which is privacy data. Privacy and data together, not just data. To take it to the next level, that's where the data clean rooms become the backbone of that subdivision. And it is getting more eyes from every advertiser of every size, every publisher of every size and of every industry, because it gives you an opportunity to earn more money. As simple as that, right? It gives you an opportunity in the legal, perfectly allowed legal way, right? What does it take to scale? It takes an intent from the leadership so that it doesn't look like it's just a pilot and people will forget everything after 6 months. Because pilots are basically, if I think of it as a pilot only, then it is, at the end of the day, it's only a case study slide. Right? A pilot can only become a case study slide, as far as I've seen. But when you take it to the next level, and when you want to take it to the extent that it can benefit the whole company globally, not just in US, globally, you have to think of scale. Scale means you have to have full-time employees dedicatedly, carefully working towards a goal. And it could be a media-driven goal. It could be building a partnership between two companies like QSRs and delivery apps, or airlines and banking, or let's just say financial institutions and insurance companies. A very obvious example. I mean, sorry, not so obvious, but let's just say this is also an extent. You have to have people ready to do things in the long run. And it's a program, it's a capability, and it needs an approval from the top. It just doesn't slide into any random conversation, does some job and gets away. Full-time employees dedicatedly. So what are those things? Who are the people needed to make it a success? Starting from the C-suites, let's just say approval from the CFO as well, of course. Then a business sponsor. If it's a media-driven, a media sponsor needs to be there. If you're a publisher company, of course, a publisher's media person who takes over the publisher scale, publisher itself as a scale for other advertisers. Then the team that is responsible for the data, who's going to do the data work. Data work is always messy. Doesn't matter how much you clean it, you always need to clean the data even further at some point. So who can monitor these things? Then there is a legal piece involved, because when you're trying to work with another company, legal needs the paperwork.
Exactly.
You will need the paperwork with the clean room company, you will need the paperwork with the other company, because that will never go away. That's the reality of the picture, right? Then compliance. Is the data being handled correctly? And that's where clean room companies like ours have to prove that we follow all the rules. Like, are we following the GDPR rules? If I'm working on a pharmaceutical or a patient data, am I HIPAA compliant? Like, if I don't checkbox my basics as a clean room provider, I'm not going to be approved by your company, right?
So from a setup point of view, it almost feels, akin to conversations I remember having around CDPs and investing in a CDP 10 years ago. One company that I would say within the CPG world is doing very well when it comes to maximizing their CDP data is L'Oreal. And they talk about how robust their CDP infrastructure is and how much they care about their first-party data across multiple parts of their business. And in reality, in year 1, year 2, year 3, I don't think they had a positive ROI in terms of the investment that required, not just from a purely tech infrastructure point of view, but also all the people that you just talked about. Having a business sponsor, having technical leads, having compliance people, making sure that the CDP was implemented properly, everything was being compliantly ingested, stored, processed across multiple geographies. So essentially what I'm trying to say here is, it feels like this next wave that major companies that hold a lot of interaction data with customers or with individuals, specifically with PII, but even without PII, now need to really do the same thing with data clean rooms. And think about, in terms of unlocking the next level of value creation with partners, because we don't live in isolation.
Exactly, yeah.
You have to have this infrastructure right now and the setup right now.
It is all things said, yes, I agree. And I think let's take a moment, just close our eyes and think of this moment. When was the last time you were able to accept that my data will never get misused? And of course, I'm doing my own checks as a company who's providing the data. But when was the last time you were like, okay, I can join my data with 3 companies? Like, this was never a possibility. And now if the tech is making us the possibility, we should embrace it. And there's no limit to this because tech is going to do its job anyway. It's an absolute way of surety that it will do its job. If you are able to if your team or if you are being creative in the use cases, then it's only a matter of time that you will see all sorts of use cases, right? Like hotel companies, big hospitality chains also have airline credit cards. Why do they have it? Because there is some hope that they can personalize experiences. There is a win-win-win situation for everybody. So, yeah.
So you've worked across data science, engineering, privacy analytics, and now platform strategy. From a professional point of view, what skill or mindset has stayed constant throughout all of those roles? And what did you have to completely unlearn from, let's say, each of those experiences to really get into what data clean rooms can do now?
Nice, yeah. You are allowing me to say some good things about myself. And you're allowing me to also say some things that I have had to unlearn. That means bad things about myself. Yeah. I think so. I have more than a decade experience. And before I answer, I mean, if whoever is going to listen to this, is that the background that I have, I come from computer science background as an undergrad. Did my master's in marketing intelligence. And I have always worked in data from day zero, let's just say, in my professional career. Worked on the consulting side, now working in the product company as well. Have worked directly with client-facing roles. When you work in such a vibrant setting, which is always cross-functional in nature, I mean, one thing I personally felt that I'm very grateful to the leaders who guided me for all this, is that I should be able to translate different topics, doesn't matter complex topic or simple topic, all sorts of topics with respect to the context the other person brings. So context is the key here. If I'm talking, let's just make it more real instead of a generic dialogue like this. Is if I'm in clean rooms and let's shift gears a bit. Suppose if I'm working with a CTV provider, we have so many, right? Connected TV streaming providers, Netflix, Hulu, Disney, Amazon Prime, Peacock, like think of anything. When I'm working with a CTV provider, I have to talk in their terminologies. I have to translate my ideas into the words that they follow. I have to use the common topics, which we all daily say that, okay, are you watching, do you have ads on Netflix or not? Or you are using an ad-free version. So free ad-supported TV, fast. Then AVOD, SVOD, like these kind of things, right? Like ad supported or not. These things matter in a very casual sense. That means you understand the industry. Now taking it to the second level, how would you work on their data? To work on their data, I need to know what kind of shows people are working so that I can guide them for use cases. If I'm talking to a person who's a content person on the Netflix side or a Hulu, or it doesn't matter which streaming provider it is, like Amazon or Peacock. If I'm talking about a use case to utilize attributes about the content a person watches, then of course I would think of genres, timestamps, what kind of shows, what kind of profile do I have? Like, do I have a 4 people profile? Do I use it on my device like laptop, phone? I have to bring in the context that the person deserves on the other side. And even getting way more technical, these are the things not supposed to be just very fluffy and hand-wavy in nature. You really need to know the things. I happen to know some of these things for the CTV industry. Like there is a thing called TMS ID. Do you know about TMS ID? Okay. I'm not trying to impress you. Sorry, but I'm not trying to impress you. But the context I'm trying to come to is a TMS ID is something that was built in 60s by a company called Tribune Media Services. It's an ID that gets associated with every show or every episode that gets launched.
Okay.
It's like
a barcode for a...
It's a 14-digit, let's just say alphanumeric value applicable to a show or an episode of that show.
Okay.
Whether it's a movie or a show or something that's coming on the TV, it's an ID to represent something. Just like you have an email ID for yourself, an episode of a TV show has an ID for itself. Why does it matter? Why am I saying all these words? When I'm talking to the content person, I should be able to explain them that I understand your stuff. I care about it. I did my homework. I read about it. Yesterday, I didn't know about all this, so I did my homework.
Yep.
It's not like I have always had this knowledge, right? Sometimes when you're working with a a retail media company, you have to talk about the retail media networks, how the ad supply and the ad buying happens, how does it close the loop. To answer your main question, what is that skill that I feel has helped me is that when I'm talking to the data person, I have to talk about the concepts that person would accept and agree. Monitoring, engineering, aggregations, deduping the data. These are the words I would use. When I'm talking to the media person, I have to talk about your KPIs, your planning, right? Your what are the different settings that you can do in a DSP? What are the things that you do to plan your campaign? I have to use the media words. And over the time, this is one of the skill sets that remains close to me. And you will only build with this. There was a second part to the question. What is the second part? I forgot the second part.
What parts did you have to unlearn?
Oh, unlearn. Okay. I think this same answer goes both ways. You cannot think that, I mean, it may or may not apply to all, so conditions apply here already, is that whatever your knowledge is, it's always getting translated. Like, you are knowledgeable, but are you relatable?
Yeah.
Right? You're knowledgeable, but are you relatable? Right? That's the thing I had to unlearn a lot. And coming with a POV to talk to somebody matters. Like, right? If you don't know something, of course you'll tell, I don't know. Those kind of things. Like for working on patient data sets, you need to know about how HCPs and patients work, right? How do companies maintain claims data? Like, it has nothing to do with data clean rooms. This is whole thing. It is about being in the context and being relatable. The more people who can relate to you, the better you emerge as a person whom they can trust.
The more empathy you have, the
Yes.
better the quality of solution you're going to give to a problem.
Thank you. Yes, you said it better.
But I mean, that's one of the first things we get taught in sales, right? Is how do you put yourself in the shoes of your buyer?
Shoes of the buyer. I think that's like the bottom line to the things that I've been rambling for the last 10 minutes. Yes.
And then build that empathy, look at the world through their lens, and then, as people that work in data, we just have this view of all of the metrics that can kind of drive the outcome that they're trying to drive, and hopefully it marries to what we're trying to drive, and then we make our sales targets from that. So
Targets. Yeah, that's the goal.
So, I want to talk to you about where a use case of where data clean rooms wasn't just interesting, but actually changed, what a company actually does.
Yes. I have two examples that I think could be relatable. Both are, separate from each other, different. Is that one is let's talk about the obvious use case, because data clean rooms emerged as an ad tech thing. The most obvious use cases were media optimization, and this use case, I'm thinking of one particular client in my mind when I'm speaking, but just like my colleagues have done the same work for other clients, and I have done the same work in my previous companies for other clients and other publishers, the storyline remains true and applicable to every advertiser and every publisher you can keep in your mind. What is that use case? It's literally same ad optimization, media optimization. And if you want, and what does this do? Because your question is, how does this change the way a company operates or thinks, basically, or makes decisions? I think the way they operate may or may not change, because company has a core business to take care of. But how do they operate, or how do they become better than yesterday, is what data clean rooms allow them to do. So one of my advertisers was working, one of the advertisers in one of my experiences in my clean room experience, they had like tons of millions of dollars of money to spend, right? On one publisher to begin with. And they were doing that on multiple publishers. And they have usually a very strict timeline on how they want to spend the money, because they're working on a set kind of a deadline, right? Let's just say there's a deadline for people to register to do something. Like it could be buying a membership of something because a trial is expiring, or if you have a guideline to complete a certain task by a deadline. If there is a deadline, the advertiser is enticed to show people ads, so that they click on ads, they do something, and they buy that product by that deadline.
Yep.
And they will go crazy on okay, I will spend my money on publisher 1, publisher 2, publisher 3, publisher 4. So with the same intent, I want people to click, and register. When you have this kind of a business setting, which I think applies to all advertisers, they have money to spend and achieve a goal. There, they had their own KPIs around measuring ROAS, measuring CPAs, regular things around click-through rates, different types of events that a customer can do, many milestones, not just a major milestone, right? It's not like people are buying something right away. They have a mini milestone of people registering. So people register before they buy something.
Yep.
Let's just say, right? We have to think of these mini milestones as our primary KPIs to begin with, because sales is not always sometimes the goal. The moment you register, sales is the goal. Yes. So keeping this context in mind, the advertiser was able to analyze the data with the publisher, one publisher at a time, and they were able to aggregate the data on a weekly, monthly basis. And this data was never made available before clean rooms ever existed. So they can of course go some platform reporting and all, see aggregates, but this is happening on the user level. I think that's the key piece to remember.
Yeah.
That's why a clean room.
And
otherwise, it will sound the same.
Yeah, and I think if the ticket value is high enough,
Yes.
it makes so much sense.
It creates interest, it creates hope,
Yeah.
right? So taking it to the next level. So publishers' data and advertisers' data is getting joined. A lot of money is on the line here because they're trying to optimize their ad spend. And in very obvious, simple words, when we say optimization, it's not like you're trying to do always something very crazy on the back end to optimize something. Sometimes you can do simple things and optimize as well. In this case, they were able to prioritize and deprioritize some of the tactics. Of course, utilizing the log level joins on user level information and multiple identifiers. So you have PII information, you have identifiers that are identity engines and identity companies. You can use one or more of these identifiers and create your own CPAs or incremental ROAS, or let's just say have a look back analysis. That's what you would do. Any analysis is always a look back analysis. Like you're not working on future data. Future data doesn't exist. What was the conclusion? What is the learning here? They were able to shuffle the money within their tactics and get 5 to 10% incremental revenue. And that 5 to 10% may sound like, oh, 5% is nothing. But when you have a ticket size of, let's just say, that can range between $50 to $500 per person, me paying $50 to $500 depending on the service I buy or the service I register for, and whatever the cost was there, they had millions of ad spend anyway, 5 to 10% incremental revenue just by shuffling the money within the same tactics gave them so much more money. And it is not about how much money they spent. They were happy. Okay, I'm done. The deadline crossed. What is next? I think we should talk more about in general if you are working in a clean room company, what next? The intent behind this exercise was that I learned that I can utilize my data and I can gain more revenue. But what it also proved, and I will try to literally bring everything together in the last half an hour, 1 hour, I don't know how much time we have talked already, is that to make this a program a reality, a success, a capability a success, is that you need to prove back to the leadership that this technology works in your favor. So even when you're able to show a 0.1% or a 1% or a 10% incremental revenue, you are easily able to prove that the amount of money you are spending on a clean room provider is easily getting utilized to your benefit to give you more money. It's not even a question of break even.
Yep.
Break even is way in the past. Like you have already gone into the value phase. I think the value is the answer here, right? You've gone into the value phase where you think that a tech for the same data that I have had for years, a new tech can give me an opportunity to make more money. I mean, how beautiful is that?
Which, leads me to the question about, why does every cloud have its own clean room? And then why are there so many other vendors in the middle in between all of these as well? Why is it so confusing?
This is getting interesting, guys. Yes, it could get confusing to some people. And first I'll answer it more generic and then I'll get to the bottom of it. Because this clean room as a concept, people have their own maturity cycle or a curve towards adopting a technology. Why maturity curve? Because they need to have people to get mature to use these platforms. In the first 6 months to 1 year, they're learning. In the second year or so, they are actually the masters of something. And when you are intaking a technology into your portfolio as a company, you have to think of, is this a transition from an old technology to a new technology? People have to think about the learning curve here. That's what the learning curve and the maturity curve I was talking about. Like example, if today all of my data is in GCP or BigQuery or maybe GCS buckets or maybe in AWS S3 buckets, I'm not going to go crazy today and shift everything in Databricks for no reason. I may have reasons, but I'm not going to do it just.
I'm not going to do it for fun. No,
I'm not going to. This is all for full-time employees doing their work with a goal in mind.
Yes.
It's okay. That mindset is okay. But then comes GCP with BigQuery clean rooms. We have AWS with AWS clean rooms, Databricks with Databricks clean rooms. Azure has confidential compute. Snowflake has Snowflake clean rooms. You think of bigger clouds, these are the top 5 clouds I have in my mind right now. They make things easier for some people to join data with some companies. Can it always scale? Maybe. There's never a no here because the technology would do its job for sure.
For sure. Yep.
But when you're thinking of a program, you have to think of interoperability. You have to think of people's ease of use who are going to actually do the hands-on work. You have to think of what are the additional money that I will have to put into technology. It's not like GCP or AWS or any of the clouds would always be free. It could be cheaper. Sometimes maybe not cheap, depending on the kind of data that you bring in. But you have to make a decision in terms of how does this solve an overall problem for you. And these individual cloud native platforms, I think these are called native clean rooms, they are amazing at what they do, right? Because they are seamlessly in single UI, they are making sure that 2 parties can bring in the data and join their data. What is the limitation here? Both the parties, there is a condition supply here. They don't always have to be in the same region and same cloud. There is more technical concepts of external tables, authorized views, where you can have different clouds joining with each other, right? It's very normal these days, right? And then we have iceberg tables, which are going to just revolutionize the things. Let's not go there. But the intent of your question is, why do so many things exist, right? Because everybody in this case, cloud companies, and then clean room providers have a way of doing things. And I have a very, let's just say, it may sound lame. Like, why do so many ice cream shops exist? Can we just not have only Ben
People
and
like
Jerry's?
different flavors.
Why can't just Ben and Jerry's be the standard for the world? Right? Why do we have more pizza companies? Why do we have Domino's, Pizza Hut? 99 cents pizza in New York. Maybe it's not 99 cents anymore. I don't think it's 99 cents anymore.
Not
But
after inflation.
Why
no.
do these exist? Some of the companies that are clean room company providers as neutral companies, and including the cloud native companies, they're trying to standardize the offerings.
Yep.
The more standardization that you're able to bring, and now I'm encapsulating the whole answer into keywords. Identity plays a role. Which cloud you are on plays a role. How much money do you have? Of course plays a role.
Massive role. Yeah.
Right? Do you have people to take care of things? That plays a role. Interoperability with multiple clouds play a role. Is your UI easy to use? Activation pipes play a role. Like, if you can analyze all data but you don't know where to send the data, it doesn't make sense. Sometimes even the readiness of the project matters. Like, if a clean room provider always starts saying that give me your data first, that means movement of data, then not all companies will like it. Like regulated industries, financial companies, banking companies, pharma, they will not give the data, right? It doesn't matter whether it has PII or not. It is a financial company. It runs on complete set of rules.
Can't do it.
You have lived a life. Okay, why am I forgetting this? I should put this back on you as well. You have worked at Reckitt, right? So you know it, that it doesn't matter whether it's PII driven or not. What kind of data it is being dealt on, what are people going to do with the data matters. Yes.
So you've written publicly and spoken publicly about the future of clean rooms. So here's a curveball.
Yeah.
What's the trend in clean room that actually scares you? And do you think, it could lead us down the wrong path?
Yes. Okay. There's no right answer for this. So I'll first start with the condition supply asterisks, because this is a futuristic thing that I personally think may happen or may not happen at some point, right? I feel like this is one of those technologies which gotten famous very fast. Adoption curves are of course there, and globally, people when they have their adoption curves, sometimes they jump in fast and try to get all in and take use of the technology. And this is one of those technologies because privacy, like legal, as fancy and as interesting it may sound for the media teams and data teams to utilize this platform, it is not that fancy to the legal and compliance and ethics team, right? They will of course approve it. They will agree to that, okay, yes, you can use this technology. They will give it a green signal, a pilot runs. Maybe after pilot, there are more things happening. This is one of those technologies that is currently in the phase of 2 steps forward and sometimes 1 step back. And that sometimes 1 step back is a key thing here. If you are not able to utilize the technology to your benefit, you will feel like it's not useful. So the intent from the top matters here. Where it can get more hazy, like more blurry in nature. And then I have to say the catchphrase. I have to look in the camera and I have to say it. AI, right? AI needs to be embraced.
I'm very surprised we didn't really talk about AI this far into the conversation.
I had no intention to not talk about it, but if it's about the future, we have to. It's not like privacy team's favorite topic is AI. No, I don't think so. It will be the privacy team's favorite topic at all.
Probably the least favorite.
Right.
topic.
So suppose tomorrow, and then in all favor of the goodness that can come from these techs, all techs, like doesn't matter which tech, my tech or your tech, doesn't matter. Is that how will we embrace the combo of privacy and AI is one of the things that people have started already exploring. It is not a future thing. So I know the question was about what or may not be the thing that may go in favor. This is a thing to watch out for very, very carefully. Because you asked me a question and at some point one of the questions was like, what are the data politics? I mean, this is exactly goes into the concept of data politics. Who can do what with my data? And what can I do with your data? And if AI plays a role over here, and we all know that sometimes, okay, AI stores the data, AI stores your chats. If AI starts querying your data, which can easily any day today as well, right? Like Amazon has that feature, by the way. Amazon Marketing Cloud, you can create audiences to be sent to Amazon DSP by utilizing the chat box on the right hand side of the screen.
Yep.
If you have not used it and if you use AMC, please do it. It can write queries for you because on the back end, that chat box knows the schema of the data. It is not problematic for Amazon because it is in their own ecosystem as a walled garden.
Yeah, it's
So
inside
AI
of there.
within a walled garden inside, I'm pretty sure every company is using it.
Yeah,
But when the boundaries cross,
that's when it gets.
it's a thing that people, and then and I've been casually saying it's a win-win-win situation. It can easily turn into a maybe winner, maybe win and a maybe win situation, right? Because people need to embrace it, learn it, and then think of agents which are being built on top of the data or things that are being built on top of. And then it's only natural that it will surely become a piece of automation within clean rooms as well. Sure. Why not? I mean, like nobody likes to write queries of thousands of lines and then see where the error is, fix that error. People would like to write the queries using a chatbot.
Or just use some form of automation.
Some form of automation. And I'm pretty sure clean room companies and cloud companies would embrace this opportunity to make people's life easier. I want to make sure that publishers write the query the easiest. And when I say the word query, it includes any kind of code, Python or query, SQL. This is one thing. Then other than that is the governance piece of it. I think we undervalue how much governance plays a role in clean rooms because it looks like a very fancy tool in the beginning. I will not lie. It looks like a very fancy tool and it does great things. But then every company, let's just say most of the companies, if not every company, are global in nature in some way. Whether it's a CPG company, if I buy a candy, let's just say I buy a Cadbury chocolate or any chocolate, let's just say. I'm pretty sure that data or that Cadbury as a chocolate is also available in other countries as well. And if I have to think from the very top down, like the 50,000 foot view, a company which creates CPG products, and every CPG product company has thousands of products. They have to think of governance as to how each country or each continent, APAC, Asia Pacific, US, North America, Latin America, Europe, everybody, how do they take care of their own governance? Because clean rooms will not take care of all sorts of governance. Clean rooms will have the green signal to process your data in the ways they are allowed to process your data. If it's GDPR specific, I will comply myself with GDPR.
Well, similarly to having product, like a CPG will have product governance in terms of how products are made, how you actually create them within SAP if you're using SAP, etc.
Yes.
It's comes
So
back to
global governance.
data clean room specific governance.
I think global governance, utilization of AI, and it's only gonna get better. I mean, I know the intent of the question could be, okay, something can backfire. I mean, anything can backfire. That if you think like that, right? Anything can backfire at any time. My data policies may not be as private sometimes, right? So I can mess things up because it's a human error. At the end of the day, a human is dealing with the data. Not every time everything is automated. So thinking of governance, thinking of intent, what do you want from this kind of a tech, and thinking of how you will embrace AI. I mean, these are the fair points to keep thinking of. And I already deal with clients who think of these things because we are trying to roll out some kind of alpha, beta, gamma kind of like products. I mean, of course, not gamma. Sorry, that was too much. But yeah, alpha, beta kind of features within a product. Every software company would do that. It's software. At the back end, it's a privacy tech. But on top of it, there is a software. That's why it's a SaaS. Did I miss any part of the question? Sorry, did I miss any part of the question?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Sure.
Nice.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast, Puneet. Been a wonderful conversation. I've learned so much about different use cases of data clean rooms, but more specifically, the key takeaway for me is asking that right question to get to the right answer.
Exactly.
Between multiple parties. Yeah.
100%. Intent is the key. I'll say this while looking at the camera. I was mostly looking at you. To make use of this kind of privacy tech, intent is the key. The leadership, I mean, it starts from the top-down perspective. But you know already about all these things so much. Somebody should actually make you sit this side. And you have been in the ad tech, and I mean, you know all sorts of things now. But you should someday sit on this side and get interviewed. I'm pretty sure people will be able to learn a lot from your own.
Once I launch my products, I will do that.
Yes. I will wholeheartedly promote that product. Without using it, just because I'm your friend now. Yes. Thank you. No, thank you so much for having me. This was such a candid conversation. I really liked it because there's no boundary to this kind of a topic. This is not a defined topic as a generic acceptable thought process, let us say, right? This is an open conversation. It has been an open conversation for almost a decade, starting 2018 when it became really a thing. Of course, not a decade, 8 years now. And then you bring in the expertise already. So thanks for pushing me in the direction that I could actually answer some of the questions for you. Yes.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Sweet.
Thank you.
That was my conversation with Puneet Gangrade. And what stood out to me was how fragile the foundation of data clean rooms marketing still is, despite all the hype. We talked about the real blockers, how trust and not tech is the big challenge, why governance beats infrastructure, and the risk that of years of experimentation might get wiped out by a single regulation. If you found this episode valuable, send it to someone wrestling with data clean room deployments, privacy constraints, and measurement at scale. And if you want to keep learning about how leaders are applying AI and data to drive real-world results, hit subscribe and leave a review. That really helps. Thanks for being part of the Applied Intelligence community. I'll see you next time.